You nailed the presentation. The VP nodded approvingly. The budget is approved. You feel that rush of victory, the feeling that you've crossed the finish line and closed the deal. Congratulations, you sold the product. But if you walked away thinking that was the end of the journey, well, let me introduce you to the monument you just bought. Because in enterprise sales, especially when selling complex software solutions, closing the deal is rarely about one signature. It's about a chorus of silent approvals. And if you only convince the loudest voice in the room, chances are you've just bought yourself a very expensive paperweight. Think about your typical sales cycle. You're usually selling to the decision maker, the economic buyer, the person whose sign-off matters most for budget allocation. You've tailored your pitch to their pain points, quantified the ROI, and mapped out exactly how this solution fixes their high-level strategic problem. You've done the heavy lifting on the why and the how much. But here's the brutal reality check. That decision maker is often just the tip of the iceberg. They are rarely the only person whose job it is to say yes. Down below the waterline, you have a committee. The champion, the person who loves your solution and is actively fighting for you in the trenches. You have the blockers, the technical reviewers, the end users, and the security compliance officers. These are your silent killers, or more accurately, your potential deal killers. They don't usually care about the ROI percentage. They care about integration friction, deployment headaches, and whether your solution is going to become another maintenance nightmare 3 quarters from now. And if you haven't addressed their unique, granular concerns, you have fatally misunderstood the buying process. So, how do you move beyond merely presenting to the decision maker and start truly mapping your territory? You need to stop thinking of these people as obstacles. Start viewing them as essential stakeholders, each with a distinct psychological need that must be satisfied for the journey to completion. Your job shifts from being a vendor pitching features to being a consultant diagnosing anxieties. Let's take the engineer. They are not there to cheerlead your product launch. They are there to ensure it doesn't crash their production environment. Their concern isn't, does this solve our problem? It's, will this solve our problem without breaking everything else that already works perfectly? You cannot sell to an engineer on the promise of future perfection. You must sell them stability, backward compatibility, and detailed technical documentation that speaks their language, the language of APIs, deployment pipelines, and error codes. If you skip this step, the champion's high-level enthusiasm hits a brick wall of technical incompatibility, and that's where the deal dies. Consider the end user. They are the ones who have to live with your solution day in and day out. The VP might say, we need efficiency. But the end user says, I need this to take less than 3 clicks and actually make my life easier. If your product introduces a steep learning curve, if it adds friction to their existing workflow rather than removing it, they become your most vocal saboteur. They don't care about the cloud migration or the scalable architecture. They care about their Monday morning routine. Your sales motion must include a narrative that caters to ease of use, not just capability. And then there's the security officer or compliance lead. This person is operating in a universe of risk management, and your product has just entered their domain. For them, the conversation is not about features, it's about vulnerability assessment. They are asking questions that often sound like micromanagement, but they are actually performing a critical service to the company. If you can answer their no questions, no, we don't use X, or no, our data residency is guaranteed by Y. With absolute clarity and documentation, you don't just pass muster, you build trust. You move from being a hopeful vendor to a trustworthy extension of their security perimeter. The stakeholder map, therefore, is not a checklist of people you need to talk to. It's a psychological profile exercise. It's about understanding the unique currency of each role. The champion wants validation and success. The economic buyer wants ROI and scale. The engineer wants stability and integration. And the compliance officer wants mitigated risk. If you try to use one pitch for all 4, you will achieve nothing more than confusion and lukewarm compliance. The truly masterful seller doesn't just sell the product. They sell the narrative that successfully navigates this entire ecosystem. They become the conductor of an orchestra, ensuring every section, from the soaring violins of the CEO's vision to the steady rhythm section of the engineer's code, is playing in harmony. You are not just closing a deal, you are achieving consensus across diverse, often conflicting internal agendas. That is the difference between a quick sale and a transformative partnership. So the next time you feel that initial rush of success after a successful presentation, take a breath. Don't celebrate the signature yet. Instead, pull out your map. Identify who is still unconvinced, not just skeptical, and approach those conversations not with a pitch but with surgical curiosity. Ask the hard questions. Listen to the quiet doubts. Because in enterprise sales, the victory isn't won when they say yes. It's won when everyone who matters feels completely, unequivocally safe saying yes. Go out there and don't just sell the product. Sell the collective peace of mind. Your action plan: 1. Identify all buying committee members. 2. Tailor pitches to specific roles and fears. 3. Address technical concerns of reviewers. 4. Prove stability for end-user adoption.